name is Alex Green, and I am President CEO of Harriet Tubman Tours. And also, we have a nonprofit called the Harriet Tubman Center for Cultural and Educational Advancement, which I am the president there. We are a company that does multiple things, various avenues dealing with history and nature and climate change. So the most fascinating thing about our organization is that we get a chance to share history and the capacity of how it happened and the location where it happened and how the environment affects this overall situation. Meaning that, Harriet Tubman once was a slave where we're actually doing our tours. So, with that being said, nature being what it is and how it happens and things continue to progress forward, we're losing a lot of these sites to climate change, basically sea level rising, land subsiding. So we are very, very determined that this history continues to be shared across the broad span of the nation and the world, because it's going to be a time where you will not be able to see these sites, and as the social environment is today, on February the 19th, 2025, the social environment gives us a forecast right now that the sites are going to have to stay put for a while because the climate change issue is not really being addressed. And I just want to be very clear that I do not go too far off the road with that, but I wanted it to be documented across the world, that if we don't do something determined with climate change, it's going to continue to be that thorn in the flesh or that thing on the side or something that we should have and could have done but did not. But on my position is that I'm going to be purposely in our organization, we're going to purposely do something to make sure it's recognition. And what is that? Mapping, um, storytelling, in conjunction with the history of Harriet Tubman and these Blackwater rivers and these forests and these ghost forests and all these things that are going to be gone in the next 25 years. In the next 50 years, you're going to be riding over in a boat. So how do we continue to do that? By continue to share the story. So a little bit about Harriet Tubman Tours. We start the company, my wife and I, in 2017 with the mind of sharing the history of this powerful, incredible African American woman and how she defined the institution of slavery. And what she did, she basically learned from the things that were around her. Now, slavery being what it is, a legal institution that holds the people um, of color captive to their location in the situation. Vast situations like this would cause people to be enslaved in a different location than you would think slavery would actually operate, being that there was no cotton, no tobacco around here. It was timbering, farming, trapping. This incredible African American woman was able to go to different locations and learn from her environment. Now, I just want to address the issue of this institution and today, as we think about it, the word African American is vastly being like squashed, just like in this climate now. It's just, when you say and you marginalize that word, you get stigmatized to a race or a class or what they're calling DEI. And I just want to be documented saying this because it's not according to race. So we're trying to change the narrative. But the real thing about this whole thing is that we have to stay true to what happened. So through her lifespan, she would learn. She would learn. We would see that she would be able to travel to different locations and she would be trusted to move around. And this is how she's able to come back and forth. Simply put, she was very, very skillful traveler, skillful navigator, all these things. Just the woman was, and a young girl, woman was, and but still, by being black, she's marginalized. By being black, she's considered less than. And that's sad to know that people's intelligent level does not comprehend between a racist and a color of skin. It just doesn't. It behooves me. But anyway, we have to keep moving. Even with that, and as we are transcending across the history, learning about the history and the nature together, like the birds, the eagles, the trees, the marshes. All these things are very important because we're watching them before our very eyes disappear. We're seeing the water come in, and our initiative that we have started in programming and the first stage, which is really picking up some steam, is called Underground Underwater. And and it's in phases that we're doing this. The first phase is pretty much mapping these locations, taking pictures, storytelling at locations that you won't see again. So you'll see physically me or others on our team standing there narrating, or you'll see them shooting some pictures and voiceover work. And that'll give the future generations something to hold on to, because they'll go back to that location and say, here, or maybe not be able to, but over there, that's where this was. So we have to do something to make a mark. So that's the in the short of it. Without getting into great detail, we plan for this to be an opportunity in Tubman country for everybody to have access to at one point in time. So in conjunction with tours that will be shared with children, adults, families across the span of this operation, we plan to empower a nation, empower a generation of people with information so they will not be lost in this situation, meaning not having to wake up and say what happened or what was here or who was this woman or who was this man and why didn't you do something about it. So that's basically where we are at. Um, as far as organization from 2017 to 2025, the organization has made great strides to continue to make progress across this span of history, nature, and all. We now have an acquisition of a building called the Harriet Tubman Freedom Center. This location is a multi-purpose cultural center, so it has many facets to it. The main part we deal with is banquet and historical presentation, museum, gift shop. But the key to that all is that we are trying, and we have done some phases with green energy. Well, we have changed the lights where we want to change the energy source, heating source in here as well, but that's going in phases. So it's a great project to an old building, an older building that could be retrofitted for something in the new era, like um, loops and all these other things, green spaces around. So we're open to that agenda. One thing I do know by being a historical interpreter, I get firsthand knowledge or firsthand experience with climate change. And that's one of the things that I get a chance to see riding through these Blackwater marshes and the water's up, being able not to cross a road because the tide is up, looking at some trees that I know I seen 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're either gone or they have been taken over by the brackish water of the Blackwater River, meaning they're dead, but they're still standing. So, in some places, I can physically see how the water has taken over the land. So that's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better if we continue to go in the direction, which just looks like we are at this point in time. But it's not going to get any better. But we got hope because of people like us and others that believe in reality and know that it's a situation that we have to, not for ourselves, because we're going to age out soon. And then you got to talk about your kids, your grandkids, and all that stuff. We should be able to leave them something that they can at least try to make a conscious decision on how they want to position themselves in life, because it's going to be a true reality for the next generation and all, for real. Because as it continues to happen, we don't really know. But in any case, we are determined across this diaspora to continue to press forward with information to empower people in the best way possible by hands-on experience through the tours, and giving people the opportunity to make a decision if they want to be involved. This is not a forced opportunity. It's a choice opportunity. So you have to see the need to be able to be involved. So I choose at this point in my life, this is what I'm going to be doing until the age comes where I'm not able to or whatever, but I still will have a voice. My heart will always still be in that path of history and nature, because it's just so exciting to me. So I I am very determined with this opportunity to be able to share with people, and would love for to reaching out to people or like-minded people to have the same mindset to um, connect and being able to work together for a great cause, a common cause, and the most powerful thing, a necessary cause that we have to see the necessity. It's good to sit home on the couch and say, yeah, that's not real. But when you go to places like where we live, I can show you, I can show you in about a matter span of 8 hours, if you can stay with me that long, I can show you the reality of that statement that you just made is not true. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. But I'm so grateful for my friend and Mr. Aaron Rice, and my wife is on here as well. So I'll give my wife a few words. She said I really talk a lot, but I'm just going to let her expand on her situation as well.
I am Lisa Green, co-founder of Harriet Tubman Tours, along with Harriet Tubman Freedom Center, which is our nonprofit called the Harriet Tubman Center for Culture and Educational Advancement. And so I kind of was with the tour company, I was kind of pulled into it. But nevertheless, I have, beside my husband, with the tour company. And so, long story short, he just with his information and how he shared about the history and with climate change and everything. And I just got to the point where I had to really get involved. And so since I have really become involved, my heart really goes out to our youth, in which I just see a lack of education for as Harriet Tubman, not only just Harriet Tubman, but Black history, period. So what my heart's desire is, and I've been talking about this for a moment, but now that we have the center, I've always wanted to do a curriculum. I'm don't know how to do it or nothing like that, but since we've been here, going to start off with some programs here at the center. Just want to give the kids some life skills, even just like with Harriet Tubman, how she, helped out different ones. And so thinking about 2025 and how some of our youth, they like life skills. I mean, not only just the education about Black history, but just life skills in general. Just not knowing and not applying themselves. So my goal is to have programs, and those programs will turn into a curriculum, and just to educate them not only just history, but just everyday skills, some things that they just miss out on. So here at the center, we have a home economics room, which you'll learn how to sew, how to knit, how to even iron clothing. Some of the necessities that we need to know that they probably don't even use an iron now, but you'll learn how to iron, how to steam. And then we also have a kitchen as well, teaching them how to cook. When they get grown, they're going to need to know how to cook. They're not going to always be teenagers and wilding out. But what happens when I become 18 and when it's time for me to be out on my own? Just some of the life skills that they need to know. And then get them ready for workforce, knowing how to go to an interview, knowing what to say, knowing what to wear, showing up on time. Some of the most important things that they may have missed, as a youth, that this is what we want to do here this is what we're going to do here at the Freedom Center, Harriet Tubman Freedom Center. So my curriculum is still in place. Just going to start it off with some programming first. And then not only that, uh, relationships, creating relationships with the youth. That's very important because sometimes they're not going to listen to you if they don't have a relationship with you. And then that's part of trust. And then just ratting off some stuff, even teaching them about budget, how to budget their money. Growing up, you said the word budget. I mean, do the kids really know what a budget is, what that means? And just really just educating them that, just really educating them on the whole body, not only just education about their history, but just giving them some life skills as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you both for your time. I've got a couple of questions. Do you have a few minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool, cool. So this is, Baltimore Climate Tech, and surrounded around Baltimore City and the issues here, but you all are not located in Baltimore. And I don't know if you really said where exactly you're located to. So can you tell people geographically kind of where you're located, and the significance of your location?
Okay, so yeah, we're in Cambridge, Maryland, on the Eastern Shore. So, um, it's on the east side of the bay. If you're over in the Baltimore area, you come across the Bay Bridge. If you've ever been to Ocean City, you've been right through it. So our address is 3030 Center Drive, Cambridge, Maryland, in Dorchester County. So, but the cool thing about here, we have per square foot the most historical locations on the East Coast. So you would have Harriet Tubman in Dorchester County, and then you would have Frederick Douglass in Talbot County. The only thing that divides them is a river called the Choptank River. So that's the geographical location. A lot of people don't even understand when they're going through Eastern Shore of Maryland how connected it is all the way down to the eastern side of Virginia. So it goes all the way down eastern. It turns into another state, which is Virginia, and you go all the way down to Exmoor, Cape Charles, and that's where the tunnels are, and you go right down across the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay that way. So Maryland's divided by the biggest estuary in the United States, called the Chesapeake Bay. And I don't want to get in a long Florida thing about that because I really, really love that. And they kind of leads me to a gentleman by the name of Vince Leggett that I met some years ago. He was an incredible man, and he passed at this time, man. I guess right before Thanksgiving of 2024, and it was just like a shock, and it's still like a shock because I find myself saying I need to call Vince, and Vince is no longer with us, but he was a powerhouse in the information world dealing with the Chesapeake, Black watermen, Black history, American history. He was just a powerful force.
I'm Vince Leggett. I'm the founder and the president of the Blacks of the Chesapeake Foundation, based in Annapolis, Maryland. And for the last 30 years, we have been documenting the contributions that African Americans have made to the maritime and seafood industry. We write books, we do documentary films, we work with colleges, universities, and public, private, and home schools. Again, because we have a belief that teachers can't teach what they don't know.
He was just a powerful force. He laid the groundwork for people like me for real. Now we hear people say that all the time, but unless you actually experience it and you look back to see how some of the doors opened for me and some of the connections I'm able to walk into really way by just knowing him. It's like connections, and the reality of it all is in this world that we work in, the world that I work in, um, you don't get a lot of great connections. See, these connections come from future, past generations. These people already have seen it, they know, and so Vince was one of my mentors, we always used to joke on how I met him because when I met him, he was more like this guy doing the things that people wasn't really talking about, and it wasn't popular at all. And I remember telling him, I said, "Man, you got to stop talking that Black History stuff, man. People don't like that stuff very much." You know, he was like, "Yeah, okay." He said, "You gonna see one of these days, it's gonna be popular." I'm like, "Yeah, right, dude." You know, because it was a different time back in the '90s. He's walking around talking about black watermen, people working on the water for real. Then it's how they ate for real. I mean, that's how my family was watermen, and so you went tongue and crabbing. But anyway, I just want to really give high marks and shout out to the Admiral of the Chesapeake, Mr. Vince Leggett. He is truly missed. He is truly missed. And I was sitting in the conference the other week, and they did a tribute to him, and I never had any idea how far his reach is. So um, nobody ever take his place. Nobody will ever take his place. But what I am doing, and the organization is allowing me to do, is some capacities when I'm available, is to stand in for him, and that's what I um, promised their organizations, the Blacks of the Chesapeake, that I would do. I would be a stand-in when they needed me. So, Mr. Vince Leggett, um, people said, "I hope you can hear this." I don't know if you can or not, but man, you were the dude that made things a lot easier for people like me and others.
He certainly was. He certainly was a giant in our community, no question about that. I've seen him on PBS on a lot of the
Mhm.
specials in the History Channel
Mhm.
and HUTV, and got a chance to meet him in person probably about 2 or 3 years ago. Rona Cabell, who was one of the writers and producers of a film called Eroding History,
Mhm.
which is basically what Alex was talking about, how some communities, African American communities, the home of soul food, the home of American cuisine, not let alone the home of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and many other folks,
Mhm.
is just kind of eroding, kind of flowing into the sea, and because of sea level rise and climate change. And so there was a preview of the movie at John Hopkins, and he was one of the panelists, and he's like a hero to me. And so I went up to him, was like, "Man, I just want to shake your hand, man. I'm so happy to meet you." And he was just so warm and welcoming, and we kind of just hit it off and talked for a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, exchanged numbers, and became fast friends after that. And my
Mhm.
association with Alex, whenever we were together on the Eastern Shore for a different event, we would always bump into him. Maybe he was hosting the event, but
Mhm.
it was always cool kind of being in his presence, and big shouts out to him. Rest in power, Vincent
Mhm.
Leggett, for sure. So you talked a little bit about mapping earlier,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that, because you and I, the three of us have known each other for about 5 years now, right? We came out, did some filming, did some 3D tours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
remember, you took me to the James Webb Cabin,
Yeah.
and we did a 3D tour of the James Webb Cabin. But if you
Yes.
go on Google, it's kind of hard to place it, find it on Google, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the things we're able to do with that digital twin that we created was actually connect to Google Street View just by a press of a button.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
now when you Google James Webb Cabin, it actually
Mm.
is the 3D tour that we did is connected to that search, right? So
Mm.
I say that to
Mm.
say that for places that are hard to find and maybe not as easily accessible,
Mm.
we probably need to have a conversation about doing the 3D digital twins of those and then
Mm.
connecting them to Google Street View. I would have done that with the Freedom Center, but I know it's still kind of under construction. It's still early days. I think I came in a month after you got the keys, or somewhere
Yeah. Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
didn't want to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it public, but when you're ready, we can easily connect that to Google Street View with the press of a button.
Mm.
And it's kind of happens in real time. So
Mm.
so that's a great tool for mapping. Talk to me about, do you have any plans for the Freedom Center? Are you thinking about solar? Are you thinking about like net zero, like and reducing your carbon footprint, maybe electric buses for some of your tours? How is that kind of playing into things?
Yeah. It's great that you talked, but that I brought that up because we were talking last year or the year before, well, last year where we got the place in, and we were discussing our carbon footprint, and that's what drove us to get the energy efficient lights, the LED lights, but also we were talking about solar. And then all through that connection, we bought our first electric car. So we now own a total electric Toyota BZ4, which I love. I'll always own an electric car as long as they're making them forever now. So yes, it would be a great opportunity to own electric vehicles. I think they're efficient. You just have to learn how to live the lifestyle. As far as this building, I would love to take all these gas hog furnaces out of here and put something more efficient green footprint here, and we started the process and need to pick it back up to see what that is. Even a place to charge up vehicles here. All of that, all the above that we are happy, want to get involved with. So that's the future. We are future people, so we understand the how it's going to play out for the future generation. So yes, it would not um, um, it would behoove us to be able to be ready to switch this building over to a modernized type of footprint, because you could take an older structure like this and rehab it and then have a modern footprint where you're
Right.
using less energy.
Right.
And so yeah, that would be great. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, this is your second year participating in Baltimore Climate Tech, so thank you for that.
Hmm.
But the reason that I keep wanting to invite you, and you've been so gracious of your time, both you and Lisa, is because me living here in Randallstown, which is kind of maybe the center of the state. um, climate change doesn't affect us as much as it does, the folks out on the Eastern Shore like yourselves. And so I'd always hear it on the news, but I had no direct connection to it. We got plenty of radon gas out here in my community. That's a different topic. Has nothing to do with
Yeah.
climate change, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, I had no connection to it until I heard you speak at the Maryland Historical Society and talked about how you were on a panel and you were talking
Hmm.
about how climate change, sea level rise, is really affecting, your business and the lifestyle that you and your generations of your family have experienced. And so it's not every day that you get to meet and talk to somebody that's really affected by this. And until you go out to the Eastern Shore on a rainy day and see the front lawns that look like, little lakes, and you see the sea level rise for yourself, it's some nefarious thing that you think is happening to somebody else, maybe in Miami or something, but it's happening to people that it's happening to, in ground zero in Dorchester County, which all indications are it's, 68,000, 70,000 homes are going to be lost by sea
Hmm.
level rise. In 30 years, there's probably won't be a Dorchester County
Hmm.
at the rate we were going prior to January 20th, without all the
Hmm.
executive orders, right?
Right,
Uh,
right, right. Hmm.
so I want to thank you for being able to tell your story in regards to, how it actually is affecting someone and affecting our history and the way things work and the way things operate out there on the Eastern Shore, because I don't think people really realize it unless you go out there for yourselves.
True. That's true. Yeah, it's sad to say that uh, that's what drives me so much, because I seen a map, and I never forget the lady that showed me, and she showed me a forecast of 20 years, 50 years, and 100 years, and just like you said, Aaron, Dorchester County was no more.
Mm,
It was underwater, and those totals were 2 feet, 5 feet, and I think it jumped from 5 feet to like 15 or 20 feet below, above. I was like, what? And it was like, yeah, that's the necessity. So um document it at the time, man. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And the only way that we're going to have any way, once again, don't want to repeat myself, but the only way we're going to have any sustainable information if we don't document it now while it's in this stage now, so we can be able to show it to others. You're not going to be doing no scuba diving. You're going to be doing the submarine stuff around that stuff. You're just going to be, it's just going to be lost. It's just going to be lost. And the biggest thing about it is the things that Harriet Tubman did inside of Dorchester County connects to a time that was a dark time in history, institution of slavery, but she did something great by helping people out of it. Mm-hmm. So why can't we get back into the land and making sure people know about it? Right. So that's the driving force for me. I'm always thinking of all kinds of stuff. And this is one of the major initiatives that we have. So I thank you, Aaron, for continuing to be dedicated to what you do and continue to stay connected with us so we can share this journey.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I think we'll leave it there, but Lisa, Alex, thank you so much. Let people know again how they can get in contact with you, how they want to book a tour, which I highly recommend. How do they do that?
So it's HarrietTubmanTours.com. You can go on there. That's our website. You can go on there, book a tour, hit book tour. We have our fabulous Harriet the Earlier Years. You can also book your tour and a meal. That's available on there as well. And for our group tours, you will have to put in a request, and then we will give you a call and set that up with you. You also can reach us through tubmantours@gmail.com. for our Harriet Tubman Tours. And we also have the Harriet Tubman Freedom Center. We're on all social medias, which is Facebook. We don't have a TikTok yet, but we do have a Twitter page as well, and Instagram. So, oops, he said we don't have Instagram. So but we do have Instagram. So you can reach us that way. And also, you can also contact us at 866-642-7743 for those that would like to just make that phone call and just talk to us in order to set up your tour.
Absolutely. And I've taken a tour probably about 5 times now. And anytime I get an opportunity, I always take a new body out to a new friend or family member out to enjoy the tour. And I learn something new every time I do it. So even if you've taken the tour before, I definitely encourage you to take it again, because, new knowledge, new things, new routes, new things to share. And this isn't a big commercial for Harriet Tubman Tours, but then also I want to make sure that people know that you're there and that you do awesome work out there in the Eastern Shore. With that, why don't we go ahead and close it out? And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.